Hi, welcome all. Thank you for joining our expert webinar. This is Satyakshi from Spring People. Spring People is India's largest enterprise training provider. In today's webinar, we have with us GCP certified expert Himanshu Rathi, who is going to take us through an overview of GCP along with its advantages. He will also deep dive into the product and service offerings of GCP. If you have any questions during the session, please type it in the chat box and they will be addressed by Himanshu after the presentation is over. I request you to provide feedback at the end of the session, which will help us to improve quality of our future events. Without further ado, let's start our today's GCP session. Over to you, Himanshu.
Thank you, Satyakshi. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Over the next 1 hour, we will try to understand the Google Cloud Platform ecosystem, its offerings, services, and the advantages that it has in terms of the IT usage. We will broadly try to focus on the service offerings and the leverage that we can have with it. I would request you all to put your questions, ask any questions in the questions tab that you have. I'll try to take up questions towards the end of the Q&A session. Google Cloud Platform is a platform where all the IT related services have been consolidated and are made available with all the niche technological aspects that today's new generation computing requires. We have services for every aspect of our usage, be it machine learning, IoT, CI/CD, networking, data analytics, data formation, BI requirement, computing needs, platform as a service, you name it. Each of these services integrate with each other in a very native way, and the usage are very optimized and are available at an affordable price. I'm Himanshu, and I have 10 plus years of experience in the industry. Have broadly worked as a software developer. I'm a Google Cloud authorized instructor. Have been associated with GCP and the surrounding ecosystem for last 7 years. This will be the agenda for today's webinar. We'll understand what GCP is, how to set it up, how to get access to it. Then we'll try to understand the advantages it brings in. And then we'll try to deep dive into the individual services which are offered. The number of services which are offered are more than 50 right now. We'll try to understand some of the prominent services, and I'll try to take you through the GCP console. Towards the end, we'll try to understand the cost advantage that it offers. After that, we will have a 10-minute Q&A. Cloud computing has been a shift in technology which has brought us all to a level wherein all the niche technological aspects are available to us at a hand's distance. This is how we define cloud computing in general. Google Cloud Platform is an offering by Google, is a suite of cloud computing services that runs on the same infrastructure that Google uses internally for its end user products, such as Google Search, YouTube, among many of others. These services and the infrastructure supporting them is global in nature and is highly resilient. If you are looking to understand the Google data centers and its locations, let's take a look at very quick look at uh, about the data centers which are scattered all across the globe. We can pretty much see they have covered the entire globe with their service offerings, and as much as even if you are looking for the native storage or the computing requirement, those are also available to you as per in the region you are working. To understand Google Cloud Platform, broadly the services have been categorized under compute, storage, big data, machine learning, IoT, and so on and so forth. Each of these service categories have further services incorporated into them, and each of them serves one or the other unique purpose. These are some of the services which are being offered by Google Cloud Platform. Google Compute, like the name goes, is infrastructure as a service, and you can use it to work with any compute related requirements. App Engine is a platform as a service environment where you just have to bring in your code, deploy it, and your application goes live. Some of the other services associated are related with the networking are the networking services, wherein you can create your network, work with subnets, control firewalls, configure VPN connections, and a lot more. This is how the Google Cloud Platform ecosystem is built. At the top of the hierarchy, you will have an organization, then you will have multiple projects, and then within each of the project, you can choose to work with individual services. The billing can get consolidated at a project level or at an organization level. With the long-term usage, you can even get a good amount of discounts which are already available into it. In terms of project authorization and authority, we do have the control over who gets access to which project and what services they can launch in each of the projects, which I'll show you once we do a quick round of Google Cloud Platform console. Let's try understanding why would you like to use Google Cloud Platform, or why so many Fortune 500 companies have started moving to Google Cloud Platform in the recent times. You get access to the same infrastructure as Google. It is one of the cheapest cloud platforms available with best in class services across all the public cloud platforms that you have. You have some of the very advanced level capabilities. Among one of them is live migration of virtual machines. You have encryptions configured at date transit as well as REST. You can bring in your own hardware-based keys with the HSM services. You can have different data storage encryption configured, not only at the database level, even with at the networking level, you can configure them. These are some of the compliances which are Google Cloud Platform is certified for. Let me take you through the Google Cloud Platform console before we jump into the services. In order to access Google Cloud Platform, you have to go to console.cloud.google.com. I have already logged into my Gmail account, hence I can see my Google Cloud Platform. Within here, you can create domains and list them as an organization under which you can create one or the multiple projects. Each of the project can then further be configured with the access rights and the services that you choose to work with. I have right now selected one of the project. and all the services associated with this project are available at my access once I click on the left hand side icon. Here you can see all the services are available which I can work with. This consolidated access of all the services makes it very easy for anybody to manage and work. Now, let me quickly take you through the billing setup here. So the billing setup you can do at a project level, and consolidated billing can be there. You can even configure some of the advanced things like alerts. You can get even the details of the billing details, such as how many hours or how much amount of data has been spent on each of the services. You can get very detailed post breakdown. There is a feature called commitment, under which you can commit for the long-term usage and then can get discount up to 50% off the service prices, the on-demand pricing. Invoicing is done monthly, and you will receive the invoice towards the month once the service period of the monthly end is achieved. Let's try touch base with the first service, which is compute service. Compute service, like the name goes, is responsible for all of your computing requirements. In terms of GCP, we associate it with infrastructure as a service environment. You can choose to deploy your workload across customized virtual machines. You can customize your virtual machines in terms of computing capability, in terms of processors that you pick and choose from the available ones, or the amount of RAM that you need. Some of the very niche features of GCP compute services, you can increase the disk size without having any kind of downtime associated with any of your infrastructure as a service requirements. You can import your virtual machines. If you have any of your images available with VMware or even in Packer, you can import them directly into the Google Cloud projects and can get going with your instances right away. The billing for the compute service is done per second after first minute of usage has been done. So minimum charges that you pay is 1 minute. After that, you get to pay based upon the per second billing, which itself is a huge advantage. Brings you very close to your utilization curve. It has integrated a global monitoring with Stackdriver. So Stackdriver is a service which is natively integrated within cloud Google Compute services. You can monitor your services availability across the globe. You can even monitor your applications with the Stackdriver agents. The consolidated logging is available at different levels, which can give you even deep dive into the service usage and their downtimes. Now let's take a look at the compute service. So compute engine is one of the service which comes under the Google Compute, and this is primarily your infrastructure as a service, where you can create virtual machine instances. You can work with the different disks. Now, on demand or automated snapshots can be taken up for the virtual machine workload that you are running, giving you even deeper control over the backup and DR processes. You can bring your own images or create images from your virtual machine workloads that you have already running here. For your very high computing needs or machine learning driven workloads, you can even use TPUs and GPUs which are available here. So a lot of TPUs are available which you can make use of here. Committed use discounts are the long-term commitments that you make to the GCP. Once you make a long-term commitment, the services or the instances will be available at a cheaper prices to you. You can configure metadata at an instance level, any specific SSH keys you want to encrypt, add, or any specific environment variables you would like to set. And you can fetch them, or scripts can dynamically fetch them once you deploy them into compute workloads. Each of these services further integrates with some of the other capabilities which are available, such as auto scaling, load balancing capabilities. Creating a virtual machine is very simple. There are various ways to interact with GCP environment. The web console that you see is one of the options. The other options to interact with the GCP involves using a command line utility called gcloud. So you just have to download gcloud, set it up on your system, authenticate with your GCP project, and you will be good to go. The other way of interacting with the Google Cloud Platform services is using the APIs. There is a large set of APIs which are readily available for you to use. Let me quickly demonstrate the API Explorer, which houses all the APIs that you can work with Google Cloud Platform for your different needs. Now, so anytime you want to interact with GCP resources using any of the programming languages, these are REST-based APIs using which you can interact with. Moving forward to more of the compute requirements, let's take a look at the new generation service which has been launched as called as Anthos. Now the Anthos gives you the capability to launch containerized workloads across multiple Kubernetes clusters using this service. Anthos APIs can integrate with Kubernetes clusters running on other cloud platforms and gives you the central console to deliver all of your Kubernetes workloads. One of the key advantages with the Anthos API is that you can control the rollout across the clusters in the same fashion as if they are running on the same infrastructure. Moving forward, for your compute needs, there is a service called App Engine. Now, App Engine falls under platform as a service category, wherein you don't really have to set up any infrastructure or need to do any pre-configuration or set up any build or deploy runtime environments. The entire environment is already preset for you. For the development, yes, you will have to follow certain practices in terms of deploying, but the runtime environment for your application is already there. For example, you have a Go application or Java application or Python application. You just have to bring in your code with a pre-configured deploy file, and your code will be ready to go on. One of the advantage of App Engine is App Engine can even operate at zero cost with one of the App Engine offering called Standard Platform, which is available into it. Working with App Engine gives you even broader control with terms of the deployment. Your application will be globally accessible. You will get access to some of the advanced capabilities such as routing control, the traffic management, rollout and rollback of your application, and is a perfect solution for looking at different delivery modules such as blue green or canary release. They all can be natively integrated. In terms of environment, App Engine offers you two environments, standard and flexible. Flexible environment is less of a black box, while standard environment is more of a closed environment where you get lesser access to the underlying environment on which your application is running. Okay, and once you have set up your code and you have so I have chosen the Python. So there is a app.yml file that I'll have to write, and after that I'll just have to deploy it and my application would go live. There are a good amount of use cases available and case studies built around compute services. which I encourage you to explore further. Moving to the next category of services called storage services. Now, when it comes to the storage, every application or environment have very varied kind of storage requirements. We need blob storages, we need NFS storages, we need relational databases, non-relational databases. Uh, 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 Analytics is also a requirement these days. So how do we get access to everything? GCP has a storage service available for all of your needs, and you can pick and choose the service usage based upon your criteria. You even have the capability of encrypting your data rest as well as in transit with different options available. You can migrate data from other cloud platforms or using from on-prem using data transfer services or the integrated uploads which are available. Most of these storage services which we will cover also get integrated with one or the other analytics services, giving you the capability to perform analytics over the data that you store. The first service that we are going to look at in terms of the storage is Google Cloud Storage. Google Cloud Storage happens to be a blob storage, binary large object storage, and wherein each of the object is treated as a singular entity, and you can get access to it as an individual entity. Pretty much you can upload unlimited amount of objects, and each of the objects that you upload here are segregated on the basis of bucket namespace being unique and global across the globe. Once you have created a bucket, within the bucket you can upload your source code, you can upload your binary objects or anything else would you like. One of the key thing with the objects is, with the bucket objects is, you get very detailed control in terms of the access that you assign. By default, all the objects that you upload into a storage bucket will remain private. And what kind of storage are we talking about? Here we are not really talking about a key value pair oriented storage or a relational database kind of storage. We are talking about blob storages, your files, folders, movies, or any other kind of large or object driven files that you have. Each of the object will be treated uniquely, and access to individual objects at a bucket level or at the object level can be configured. Even within storage buckets, you have different storage classes available between which you can migrate. You have versioning available. You can configure lifecycle policies so that your older data can be archived as the time passes, or you can choose to delete them. You can even migrate or transfer your data using the data transfer services. Here you have the integrated service available for the data transfer with the data transfer service, which is available as a separate service here. Moving on to the next storage service, which is the Cloud SQL. Cloud SQL is the perfect service if you have relational databases to run on Google Cloud Platform. You can create your instances with different RDBMS supported databases. Once you have created your databases, you get a lot of capabilities in terms of access control, in terms of encryption, in terms of creating dynamic RAID replicas and controlling their access. And one of the key things that you get is, these are highly available by nature. So multi-zonal capabilities are configured within them. On top of it, even if you are trying to increase anytime your database size dynamically, you can choose to do so without any kind of downtime. The next service that we are going to talk about is cloud data store. Now, data store happens to be a NoSQL key value entity kind database, wherein you can create entities, and for entities, then you create subcategories of objects. Uh, Querying can be optimized with the indexing. Indexing is a way by which you can configure how quickly your indexes are fetched. Based upon the number of columns, it will automatically build an index, but that is highly customizable by creating a YAML file in form of the index, and you can configure that. App Engine has a very native integration with the data store, and if you are looking to use App Engine with NoSQL database, then data store certainly seems one of a kind solution. The next service in terms of the storage is file store. Now, file store is what we call as EFS or NFS kind of an service ecosystem, wherein all the NFS related protocols are supported, and you can easily mount them to Google Cloud compute instances, and multiple instances can access them as an NFS with it. So think of them as a file server which is available to you. So you don't have to configure NFS separately. You can leverage this service. Moving further from the storage services, let's talk a little bit about the networking services which are available. Now, Google Cloud Platform offers networking in a way wherein you can choose to control traffic at every level, at an instance level, at a subnet level, at a global network level, even can integrate with your on-prem requirements. Now, the network or the broader layer that you have within network is called VPC. VPC is defined as an SDN, wherein you can choose to create subnets, you can choose to create policies, routing capabilities, choose to integrate with the VPNs, and a lot more can be done. GCP VPC happens to be a global network which can be made public or private depending upon your requirement and use case. So any GCP VPC that you create is by default global in nature and will cover all the GCP region and the zones. It has native integration with the VPN. You can even configure dedicated fiber connection for a high-end usage for better throughput. Integrated global service in terms of cloud DNS is available, wherein you can migrate your domain, host your individual name servers, and create your DNS servers create your DNS records on the fly. You get TTL as low as 60 seconds, and it is highly global, and DNS could be a make or break for a lot of services. Hence, this is really one of a kind service which is available in here. You even have some of the security services available in the form of Cloud Armor, which helps you prevent the DDoS attacks based upon the attack criteria that you can define. Let's take a look at the networking services available in here. VPC network is the outermost boundary of the networking service that you have, wherein you can create VPC, and you can define your IP ranges, you can make them public, private. A lot of configuration can be done. XML IP addresses can be reserved at will, and you can make use of them with your instances. Firewalls can be configured for inflows into your instance. You can create port-wise you can control port-wise traffic, be it ingress or egress traffic. If you have multiple VPCs created in within GCP and you would like them to connect with each other without going over the internet, you can use VPC network peering. That offers you a very handy connectivity option over the Google's private network. Among the networking services, there are a couple of services which offers you even better capabilities in terms of how you deploy your workloads, such as different kinds of load balancers which are available. You have HTTP, TCP load balancers available depending upon your workload. You can even configure health check at an instance level, at a load balancer level to make use of it. You can choose to configure load balancing even in integration with some of the services such as Google Kubernetes Engine, which leverages the native cloud controller in order to work with the load balancers here. Cloud DNS is your managed DNS service, wherein you can host your public domains. Once you create a zone, you have to update the name servers with your DNS registrar, and you will have your domain hosted on the cloud DNS. Then you can create any public or private records associated with those domain name and make use of them. Cloud CDN service is a service which integrates with Google Edge network and offers you the capability to cache static content nearer to user's location in order to decrease the latency and explore the entire and enhance the entire experience. CloudNet is a service which allows you to get access to unidirectional internet network to private network or private subnets that you have created. The other capabilities which are available within the networking services, the configuration of the VPN connection. So the kind of VPN connections which are supported are both static as well as the BGP supported. So depending upon your VPN device, you can choose to configure one or more tunnel, and these are very easily configurable utilities which can help you integrate Google Cloud Platform over the internet with your on-prem ecosystem. In terms of if you're creating BGP, then the cloud routers you don't have to configure separately. They are available natively and can be leveraged by the BGP driven VPN connections. Apart from it, you do have a couple of security services in terms of the cloud armor. So cloud armor can be configured for all of your workloads across the network in terms of preventing the DDoS attacks depending upon the kind of threat that you face. You can even configure the different kind of policies here. You can configure the rules. You can pick and choose if you are selectively going to apply the DDoS prevention policies to certain aspects of your infrastructure. Moving ahead to the monitoring and the logging capabilities available natively, which we had discussed, which I had explained during the Google Compute ecosystem. So the native integration of Stakedriver service makes it very easy for you to get detailed information in terms of monitoring and the logging capabilities. Different kinds of logging levels can be configured. And with the centralized logging ecosystem being in place, you can even choose to hold on to your logs for a very long time with logging utility getting natively integrated with cloud storage. So you just have to create a sink. Once you create a sink, all the logs that you create will be dynamically dumped into a cloud storage bucket, from where they can be used for analytics or for your future compliance requirement. They are very easy to configure and make use of it. Okay. Now, error reporting, debugging, and tracing helps you take care of any errors that you have, debugging your application, or any latency-driven issues that you face with your application that you have deployed. Each of these components are very easy to configure, and they get very natively integrated with all the application ecosystems that you can notice within GCP. One of the very good use case with is available with App Engine, wherein you can figure out the debugging with the application that you have deployed in App Engine. Moving ahead, and let's talk about the data analytics services now. Um, Storing your information is fine enough, but if you are looking more to deep dive under what does your data contain, what are the patterns, or if you are looking to conduct predictive learning over them, there are a number of services which provides you those capabilities. Now, BigQuery happens to be a pretty powerful service which allows you to run SQL driven queries across very large data sets. This is a highly managed service, so you don't really have to provision anything, and you only get charged for the amount of data that you process. Uh, there's no provisioning fee, or there's no infrastructure associated fee which is out there with it. BigQuery can even get integrated with some of your BI tools, giving you the capability to dynamically draw results from your query over the large data sets. Similar on the front of BigQuery, we have Dataproc, which is nothing but a service which is capable of running the Apache Spark and the Hadoop workloads. So you can write your jobs and then execute them. Data Prep is a service to prepare for data analysis, like for example, working with the JSON driven workloads or data is a challenge, and you get a very easier to work GUI wherein you can filter the null data sets and make transform the data in a very easier format, which can then further be processed by different data analytics engines. Data Studio happens to be a BI service which get integrated, and you can configure that to dynamically draw graphs, draw analytics from them. The final category of service which we are going to focus upon is the CI/CD driven services. With new generation of DevOps practices being adopted in every organization, we have been seeing a huge adoption of CI/CD native tools. CI/CD native tools are available within GCP. You can make use of different utilities as per your requirement. For example, cloud source repositories are there, which are Git-based code repositories, and you can pretty much work with all of your Git commands. You can manage your workloads in there, manage your code repositories there, manage branches there, and a lot of things can be done. Cloud Build happens to be a build tool associated with GCP, wherein there is a build.yml file which you have to keep with your code repositories. You can build dynamic pipelines within Code Build, which will fetch your code from source repositories, pick that build.yml file, and will create the pipelines based upon what you have specified. Cloud Code is an IDE using which you can write and work with the GKE workloads. GCR happens to be native container image repository. Uh, uh, you can compare it to Docker Hub. While Docker Hub is a public repository, the GCR happens to be purely private repository for your own GCP usage. You will need a GCP authentication in order to make use of it. Uh, GKE is the Kubernetes service offering as a hosted and automatically managed cluster within GCP environment. You can create a GKE cluster for as low as 15 minutes. You can connect with a kubectl command line and can make use of the other CI/CD utilities to build pipelines and define different flows into the GKE. GKE is highly scalable. GKE is capable of leveraging uh, auto scaling within Google Cloud Platform. So if need arises and your cluster has to scale more number of nodes, you can easily make use of it with the help of the auto scaling capability which is available. Let me take you through the CI/CD services which we have. So you have Cloud Build, which is automated build deployment tool. Uh, Integration with the Cloud Build is even possible via the APIs. So once you enable it, you can even make API call to it and can make use of the service within your ecosystem. Container registry, like I have defined, wherein you can hold your own container images and make private usage of them. One of the very good services which is out there is for deployment of your APIs and monitoring what's happening with each of your endpoints. It's a pretty handy service for your API monitoring and deployment use case. Apart from the services that we have discussed, there are a number of services which we have not really touched base upon, or I have not covered them, such as a lot of services with respect to artificial intelligence, such as labeling your data, such as processing, filtering, running RDD related jobs. A lot of them are natively integrated here. A lot of partner driven solutions are there which you can make use of them. Now, in order to create work with the authentication and the authorization, there is an IAM service which allows you to control who gets access to what in terms of permissions and the authorization. You can assign different rights to them in terms of individual users. If you are trying to deploy applications which will automatically call Google Cloud Platform APIs, you can create service accounts and make use of them. So you do have a lot of options in terms of um, ensuring security with authentication and authorization in place. Let's quickly have a look at the cost advantage that is associated with GCP ecosystem. One of the key things that we have discussed is available in terms of is per second billing with compute workloads. You have widest category of free tier services. So if you are looking to use GCP free tier, you can sign up with your GCP free tier account. You get $300 of credit, though you will have to put your credit card there. Storage cost is cheapest across the industry. Uh, the entire operational usage with GCP is configured as OPEX model rather than CAPEX driven. So it's strictly follows pay as you go model rather than you making any capital expense in advance. You get long-term commitment discounts, and committed usage are available there. There is an integrated cost calculator which allows you to predict the amount of cost that your workloads will incur over a period in time. Gives you a very good idea of what you should propose to your clients or with your projects. Um, yes, Satyakshi, over to you. So guys, we'll have a Q&A session in a while. Satyakshi has something to communicate with you.
Thank you, Manshu, for your valuable insights on GCP. Guys, I hope you all have benefited from the amazing knowledge session. If you all are interested to learn more about cloud, whether it be Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud Platform, then do check out our authorized courses, which will help you to develop real world cloud applications and solutions at an exclusive prices mentioned in the current slide. If you guys need more details and information, do write to us at training@springpeople.com or call us on our number displayed on the screen. Before handing over to Himanshu for Q&A session, I request you all to give your valuable feedback so that we will keep delivering quality sessions in future as well. I know a lot of people are waiting for their questions, so let's get the answers through Himanshu. Over to you, Himanshu.
Thank you, Satyakshi. Mhm. So guys, let's take up the Q&A now. So Arvind is asking, GCP compute service is similar to what we have EC2 in AWS, right? Yes, Arvind, GCP compute service is infrastructure as a service, what you have in other cloud platforms. Um, if I have any remote desktop, can I directly import that into? So when you say remote desktop, do you mean by any virtual machine? You will have to convert that into an image, and then yes, you can import them. The individual APIs are available with a lot of methods available with individual APIs. So when you go to API Explorer, you connect on each of the API objects. You will see the respective methods which are available with the data load which is required for interacting with each of them. Okay. Sure, Avinash. Regarding the GCP Cloud configuration items discovery, this is a central repository where you can configure the details. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll share the details. Um, sure. Okay. So Bhagyashri is asking when we should use BigQuery, Cloud SQL, and Bigtable. Now, BigQuery is perfectly suited for the workloads which are schema driven, are pretty much tabular in nature, and are probably in GBs or larger than that. And you would like to run SQL queries across them. While Cloud SQL is a relational database which is good for transaction, it is not a analytics driven database. While Bigtable offers you the parallel computing option across a lot of machines connected as a cluster. Now, Cloud SQL is totally transactional database, so you should not think of analytics with them. While BigQuery and Bigtable both are analytics-driven database, while Bigtable can even be used um, with a lot of other services which are available in there. Do GCP provides any IDE? Okay, so IDEs are natively available with Eclipse or some of the other um, uh, tools that you have in there. Try exploring them, that they should work. Yes, we can do that. Third-party servers, when you say, I assume that you are talking about the monitoring. For example, a lot of monitoring services get natively integrated and you can make use of them. For example, with GKE, you can make use of Prometheus, Grafana to connect a lot of real-time metrics, configure alerting on top of them. Apart from it, Stackdriver gets anyways integrated. Recording will be available on the website where you can see this. Fair enough. This was more of an overview session, not a deep dive session. So we went with the overview. Workshops are usually detailed. All these. Okay, so in terms of ecosystem and being available or comparative comparables of services, well, it's all dependent upon your call and the kind of uses that you have. But yes, in terms of uptime, scalability, and availability, GCP has pretty much been in the industry for and have broken down all the benchmarks. It's difficult to compare and say why something is better. It all comes about your usage requirement and the kind of use cases that you have. I would recommend you to check out some of the case studies with GCP, which will give you a more detailed outlook on it. Yes, we do have a free tier plans in GCP. You can get access to it with your Gmail account. Go to go to cloud.google.com and sign up to free trial. But you will have to put your credit card. Thank you, Abhijit. So I think this is again we are coming to advantages part. So advantages are services specific, and the advantages or disadvantages are consistently changing because the dynamics of cloud platform is that the platform or the services are consistently evolving. No, Google Colab is not part of GCP. On a higher level, how does Azure AWS differ? So each of these services differ in terms of the native integration that you have and the kind of use case that you have. So difficult to frame them in a single window. But in terms of services availability and your use case, whichever fits the bill, you can go ahead with. For example, GKE was available only in GCP for a very long period in time, and people who wanted to work with the Kubernetes managed service had to come to GCP. So, and the second use case probably I can take up is the machine learning services within GCP are pretty amazing. If you happen to try out TensorFlow, a lot of capabilities are inbuilt in there. So the use case differs. It's difficult to point it out in one flat line. So there is nothing like correct cloud. Such decisions are anyways taken at enterprise levels depending upon their use case, their existing inventory, their existing licenses, their compliances. So it's difficult to say very much depends upon the project requirement. So when you say data quality, I assume you are talking about the data transformation. Yes, there are services for data transformation, which you can make use of it. Data Lab happens to be one of the service which you can use for it. Yes, you can do that, Pooja. It's perfectly fine to use, have multi-cloud environments. Yes, we do have free tier plans in GCP. Um, yeah. Yes, we do have. There are continuous deployment tools within GCP, such as code build, and you can even create smaller tasks. So one of the use case that I'll try to give you, Vedeshwaran, is based upon the trigger that you configure in Cloud PubSub. You can trigger a pipeline in Cloud Build, which will eventually get triggered with the instructions that you put in build.yml, causing your code to flow across the compute services that you have. You can even integrate some of the deployment tools like Spinnaker with GCP. If you are looking to segregate the continuous integration and continuous delivery apart. There is a very good use case with Spinnaker given for continuous deployment with GCP. I'm not really getting the use case here, but S3 buckets are very different, and the GCP buckets are very different. Privacy and confidentiality of the data stored is already whitelisted in terms of the white papers, and whenever any enterprise gets into the agreement, there are the confidentiality declarations which takes place. Most of the compliances are in place with respect to the data. Yes, we can store binary data for image processing, but obviously you have to be cautious with the storage that you choose for, and the kind of processing or the kind of image size that you have. A cloud storage can even be used for image processing, and then you can process them with the metadata associated. We have discussed these. Yes, so we do have, there is a service within GCP using which you can write YAML files and deploy your workloads in cloud platform. It's called Deployment Manager. That's already there. You can compare it to CloudFormation. In terms of sales, I think probably the Google resellers or some of the enterprise requirements might help you. But yes, the use case is across the industry. So you can make all kinds of apps that you would like. You can make front-end apps, you can make back-end apps, you can make use of the capabilities of Firestore to develop Android apps even. So use cases are there. ProML query, PromQL query to interact with the GCP IIS setup. I'm not really sure if PromQL will work. What with GKE? Yes, that works. Okay, so if you're looking to build a manual pipelines, then you can use external continuous integration tools such as Jenkins or any other tool that you have. They do get integrated with Azure, the GCP ecosystem very well. Yes, the compliance audit is in place. Yeah, GCP hosted data centers region. There are multiple regions which are listed if you go through the locations of GCP, and each of the region has multiple zones which are available. Yes, we can SSH into some of the compute services which are available. For example, you can SSH into compute instances. You can get into the instances of your GKE nodes. While some of the managed services, you might not be able to get access to them. Yes, you can host a website. Yes, and Anthos is there, but for the integration that you do for different clusters, they will be chargeable within it. I'm not sure if it is available natively with the free tier. That I have to check. But I guess you should be able to use Anthos with free tier. It should be available. And again, criteria of choice will depend upon your use case, your enterprise requirements, um, um, and a lot of other factors. Uh, uh, the kind of application requirements that you have. But broadly, if I tell you, you should go with the ease of usage and the kind of capability a platform offers. If you are impressed by it, you can look to go with it. Availability stats of GCP are published over a dashboard, and they are more than 99.99% as of now, Avinash. Uh, okay, Salman. So from for QA, the couple of things which changes with respect to the new generation deployment processes. For example, uh, the native QA capabilities will remain same, but once you containerize your workloads or once you start using CI/CD tools, the use cases, the choice of tools, the choice of testing tools that you use will vary. But whether you are from QA or you are from any other field, the cloud platforms are something that you will have to learn now or going into the future. Yes, GCP support Docker. You can create Docker containers by setting up Docker on an instance, or Kubernetes engine is there which supports Docker as native container runtime. Yes, Pratik, we can do that. There is a service called Stackdriver. Okay, within Stackdriver, you do have the option of configuring the monitoring, alerting, the entire ticket creation, and the entire resolution of ticket configuration is there. So once you configure monitoring in the Stackdriver, the alert gets triggered whenever there is an issue. A ticket gets created, it is forwarded to a particular person. Once you fix the issue, the issue gets automatically resolved. So all these capabilities are there. Try out Stackdriver alerting. That should that should help you. Yeah, that is possible. You can do that. That works fine. Okay, so within GCP, you do have a couple of services available. For example, there is a service called GCP functions, which you can make use of, and which are triggered in the similar way the Lambda are triggered for small time run functions, which will have a small runtime environment, and they can be triggered either by HTTP API calls or based upon the triggers that you have from other applications coming in. Yes, so Cloud SQL we cannot SSH, but compute services, yes, you can SSH into. Cloud SQL is a managed database to which you can only interact over database connections. You can make all kinds of apps, Android apps, web apps, backend apps, deploy APIs, anything. SQS and SNS, you have a service called PubSub, which is available, which can be used to publisher subscriber service. Operates a bit different than SQS, but yes, you can make use of it. Uh, Fair enough, guys. Thank you for attending the session. Stay safe. Take care.